Let me see.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, Jason.
How are you, my friend?
All right, how are you?
I'm living the dream. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Awesome.
Where am I getting you from today?
I am in the lovely state of North Carolina.
All right, cool. What's it like there, man? Is it you get snow in North Carolina?
On occasion, we do. We haven't gotten any yet this year, but I love it here, man. I moved up from Florida
Yeah,
probably 4 years ago or so, and got
yeah,
myself a nice spread out in the woods. But I'm still close enough to Charlotte where I can do everything I want to do. So it's like dream come true.
cool, cool. Yeah, I
Can't,
know.
can't see my neighbors out my window. It's the ultimate.
I live right on a prairie out here, and I'm in Naperville, right outside of Chicago.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I know you love Chicago, man. We love you here too, definitely.
What's not to love?
Oh man. And at 30 miles outside of Chicago, and I got a full prairie, man. I can't see anybody behind me. It's like living in the woods. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny because like I always thought like I would never want that,
Yeah.
and then the funny thing is now that we have this spread here, I was like, we should have moved even further out. Yeah.
You get used to it, don't
Oh man, it's the best.
you? Hey man, first things first, I got to thank you. I saw you in '93 for the first time, and that was backing up Extreme.
Oh
Uh,
wow, yeah, yeah.
yeah, right before the Water album came out. You guys were so amazing. I mean, it was mind blowing how good the band was at that time. So a couple years later, I went to see you at a bar called Toto's in Schaumburg,
Oh
Illinois.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just amazing. I was in front of you all night. I got there early. I got right up in front, and you put this right in my hand, man. It was the greatest thing that ever happened, man.
Oh man, that's funny. Thank you so
You know,
much.
oh, thank you, and I've been wanting to thank you ever since for that. That's
Oh please.
and thank you for the music, man. You've been the soundtrack of much of my life, so it's pretty great. You got a huge catalog now too.
Yeah, it seems like it wasn't that long ago though, huh?
Yeah, it really doesn't. You
I
know,
used to I used to hear old people saying stuff like that all the time, and I'd be like, just shut up, old person. Now I find myself going, oh my god, where'd the time go?
yeah, no kidding, man, no kidding. Hey, we got some mutual friends too. August Zadra said to say hi to you.
Oh,
Uh,
I
you know,
cannot speak highly enough of that individual.
man, he is salt of the earth, no doubt about it.
Great guy.
I texted him, and I had a feeling you guys knew each other because G's close with Jeff, and of course you
Yep.
guys played together all the time. And I said, what can you tell me about Jason? Any interaction with him? Transvestite hooker stories or anything like that? He's like, no, man, that guy he's an incredible, quick-witted guy and an incredible guitar player. So
Well,
coming
coming
from
from
him,
him, I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
about as good as I can ask for.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Well, for people that are watching and don't recognize you, which I can't imagine there is anybody,
A lot of
but
people probably think of me think you're interviewing a young George Clooney right now. So
there you go. I am here with Jason Bieler, formerly of Saigon Kick, and he is about to release Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra album Songs for the Apocalypse on January 22nd. And guests like Todd Latore, Dave Ellefson, Clint Lowry, just a million, Bumblefoot. There's
yeah.
so many guests on this album. Thank you for taking the time, Jason. And people are in for a treat with this thing.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, first of all, thank you for having me. When you say those names like that, I feel like a fan first and foremost. I'm like, oh my god, I got to get that record. I'm like, oh wait, he's talking about my record.
Yeah, yeah, it's great, isn't it? To have those friends and all that talent to have on the record. It's pretty
You know,
great collaborating with those guys, huh?
I've been telling everybody like the whole process of this was one, I wanted to make this record and involve these guys that I'm a massive fan of, and that was it. Like beyond that, it's fantastic. Like anything that happens after that, but just to have a record and be able to, orbit in that world of badassery that those guys are
Yep.
individually and collectively is just amazing to me. So the fact now that the record's all of a sudden taking on this life of its own, and it's getting all the support from brand new kinds of things like the prog metal playlist on Spotify and things like that is
Yep.
such icing on the cake. but for me to get to work with David Ellison and all these guys has just been a dream come true. So I've already kind of peaked in terms of my expectations of success for the record. So everything at this point, I'm like, wow.
And it's pretty cool. You know, and I'm thinking you guys have Bieler Brothers records, and you got quite a roster going there. And you're on Frontiers with this one.
Correct.
How did that deal go? Why not release it independently? And you know, what did Frontiers offer you that you couldn't get otherwise?
$1 million in cash. uh, I had been speaking to Nick, who I really like at Frontiers, Nick Teeter, and we've been talking. And I knew that if I did it on my label, a couple of things would happen. One, I would always have a reason not to finish it because I can't yell at myself. And two, that, you know, it would just, I didn't want to have that appearance with artists that are on our label that, oh, now he's paying attention to him and he's not going to focus on any of these other things, you know, because it's all about, you know, the promotions are going towards him or whatever.
Right.
So it kind of eliminated all that stuff. And Frontiers, who's got a great history of the genres that they've worked in and done really, really well, but didn't really necessarily have something that I was going to be associated with. They were, when I was talking to Nick, they were really about to try to focus on expanding what they do and get into new things and try new things. And so that combination of those things just made me feel like, hey, it'd be really fun to deal with, you know, new people and just see where it leads. And so far, the process has been great. I mean, I couldn't have expected. They've done a great job. I mean, and I'm a pain in the ass too because I know where all the bodies are buried.
Yeah, I mean, Frontiers is incredible. I know Jeff's got a great relationship with them and just released a new one. And August with Waiting for Monday. So, you know, those are label mates for you too with Frontiers, and they're just a great label all around. You know, I have to read this quote. You know, this is probably the greatest quote I've ever read on a one sheet, you know, on the press release for this. And it's a little lengthy, but let me do this. It will not be my heaviest record yet, but it will feature a bunch of friends and musicians I love and respect. It should sound something like if Neurosis got stuck in a blizzard at a Wawa with Supertramp, then Jellyfish showed up and they all decided to do Barry Manilow covers in the style of Meshuggah. But in waltz time with slight country underpinnings, yet accessible for the masses. How do I review the record? I mean, it's, you know, that's just drop the mic, we're done, you know, that's the record right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, it's been funny because I mean, you know, because you've been around the music for so long, but I've always done that kind of thing diversity wise. And it's always been a, you know, the way I think of music. So it's always hard for me. And I always understood that question when people would say, well, what do you call, what, you know, how would you describe the record? And I'm like, I mean, I just don't know what to tell you because it's not a metal record. It's not a pop record. It's not truly a prog record, but all those things live in there and they're welcome. I've thrown a big party and no one's going to get kicked out for their.
It's great, man. I love that because I listen to all those things, and I'm a musicologist kind of guy.
Right.
You know,
you would never know by the array of music behind it.
And it's all different too. You know, I mean, it's Trent D'Arby to Slayer. You know,
you're a man after my heart. There, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's just a blast. I love music. Whatever enters my ears, it's a gift because, you know, I'll drive by a construction site here, a jackhammer, and I hear rhythm in it. You know, I hear, you know, all the noises and stuff. That's the curse.
I've always been that way for music. I mean, I just love music. So whether it was being a kid and finding my parents 8 tracks of like Hard Day's Night and The Fifth Dimension and things like that, to the AM sounds, the AM Gold and things I remember hearing in the car radio.
Oh yeah.
And if you came, like I've said it 1,000 times during this press time period, but like I literally have Barry Manilow and Meshuggah on my playlist.
Yep.
Like I love Barry Manilow. I've seen him live 3 times. I mean, and I love Meshuggah. I just love music, and it's that old quote, but there's just 2 types: good and the other kind.
Right, right. Yeah, and you know, it shows in your music. You do bring all of that to the table. And, you know, it wasn't so much with Saigon Kick, I don't think, you know, because you guys were trying to fit into a certain genre, I think, but with your solo stuff, even more so. That all comes out. And David Ellefson just said that you were like a modern day Zappa. And I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, what a compliment that is.
I would have preferred he would have equated me with like maybe Jesus or Mother Teresa, something a little less controversial.
Oh, yeah, a little. Um, but I wanted to ask you though, why do you think he chose Zappa? Why not a modern day, Hendrix or
First
something?
of all, I totally thank him for those unbelievably kind words. I also appreciate the fact that the avalanche of hate that I will receive from the diehard Zappa fans who will be screaming about Justin Bieber is no Frank Zappa.
Right.
Uh, it's super flattering. And I'm the first person to say, like, Frank Zappa is a once in a generation genius. So I couldn't be more flattered by that amazing comparison from a guy that I think is just one of the greatest rock bass players of our time.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, just because I have a bit of a reckless abandonment for structure and uh, beating the common drum of whatever, or doing one thing. I mean, my attention span tends to drag me into all types of things. So maybe from that sense, and maybe a little bit of the sense that I think I have a kind of similar absurdist sense of humor that's kind of a theme through most of what I do. Yeah, I mean, it's such a, of all the musicians, and I love so many, that's a pretty wonderful thing to even be mentioned in the same sentence when I personally don't feel fit to trim Frank Zappa's hedges.
Yeah, and it really is, and I see it. For example, you have something on the new record, an instrumental piece called "Horror Wobbles the Hippo." The title alone is Zappa-esque.
Right.
But the instrumental piece is also Zappa-esque with percussion and a little bit of jazzy flavor to it.
Right.
Where does that come from? Where do you get the title "Horror Wobbles the Hippo"?
It was a thematic piece I had written, and it just like my brain is. Sometimes I don't want to get too involved with it for fear of what I might find. Uh, it just comes to me, these. It just sounded to me like that would make sense. Like that the music said "Horror Wobbles the Hippo" to me, and it just a lot of that stuff. The more creative I get, and the older I get, the more I realize the less I consciously think about anything I'm doing, and just let the brain go to work and exercise the demons, so to speak. The better off my results are for my own enjoyment. I mean, I don't know that doesn't always necessarily have to translate to everybody else, but I just feel like for me, that's the way I need to be creative, is not thinking about it and letting these, because I tend to hear music all in one piece, like you were speaking of, when you hear a jackhammer or you hear these different things. It all comes to me at once. Like these songs came to me basically in one chunk, both melodically, riff, percussively. Like that's how I hear music.
Right.
So the more I don't get involved with, oh, that's not going to be cool, or what do you mean by horror wobbles? I mean, if I start questioning myself, I think it just ruins my process.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so Zappa like. I think that's it really. Um, you got Todd Latore on this record. Everybody thinks, man, what a voice that guy has. You don't hear it on this record.
I didn't feel the need to show off my lack of singing ability compared to Todd Latore that graphically side by side. There's no need to.
That guy, he is incredible, and you're a great singer yourself.
But well, thanks, but
That guy is something else. And
not of the earth. Him and Jeff Soto both are just.
Oh, yeah,
I've said it a
I'm
bunch of
telling
times. Whenever I'm with those guys, I always feel like I'm about to get kicked off American Idol. Like,
no doubt. Those guys are they're top of the heap for sure. But Todd plays drums, and those in the know that Todd is an incredible drummer. He started as a drummer, I believe.
Yeah.
So with that process, do you approach Todd and say, "Hey, I want you to not sing. I want you to play drums," or was that more of his choice?
Todd and I became buds and on occasion we talk about music. He's got an amazing new solo record coming out too.
Yep.
And so we were just talking about music, talking about stuff, and I saw it as a musician when I talked to him about drumming. His eyes light up, and like his and it's just you could see the kid going to work inside of him, like all this excitement and passion about that. And I was like, it just seemed like if you ask him, as much as he's an amazing singer, if he said you could only do one thing, I think he would probably tell you he'd rather be a drummer.
Yeah, I think so
And
too. From hearing him speak about it, I
yeah,
think so.
and so I think it was just I just wanted to put him in a situation where he would be that excited, and not that he wouldn't be excited. Obviously, what he can do vocally is just doesn't need to be talked about, but he just was, we could really just get into the passion of creating something because he was like, and I could do this fill, and I could do. He was just like a kid, talking to him about it. So, and he killed it. He just killed it.
Oh yeah, totally.
And the great thing about it, I mean, not to toot my own horn here, but Andy Blacksugar played guitar on that, and Andy plays with like KFMDM, and he played with Peter Murphy for a long time. Brilliant guitar player. And the bass player is a guy named Kevin Scott on that track, who plays with like Jimmy Herring, Wayne Krantz, and he played on the last John McLaughlin tour.
Oh man!
So pulling these guys together from that, like that you would never normally see, and having it work on those tracks, to me is just like, that's the thing I'm most proud of, is creating an ecosystem where Devin Townsend plays with Clay Cook from the Zac Brown Band, and Butch Walker is on a record with Bumblefoot. You know what I mean? That to me is where I go like, yeah, I've created trouble in the universe. I'm thrilled.
No doubt. And how does somebody, I mean, touring with John McLaughlin and playing, the Vishnu stuff, I mean, what is that like coming into a session of stuff that's not there? I mean, not really even close to that.
The great thing I've learned walking away from this is all these guys are great in their own right, obviously, if not legends, but brilliant musicians. They don't give a shit about any of that. They want cool music. They want to hear good tunes. They want to have cool, challenging parts. I mean, Kevin, who plays with John McLaughlin, is like a massive metalhead, Maiden and Meshuggah and all. Just because he plays in that underground jazz scene with like Wayne Krantz and Bar 55 and that whole kind of all those groups of guys that were involved in Bowie's Black Star, like that kind of, those guys are all like young jazz guys now, have one foot firmly in the metal and rock world, as to where I think when I was growing up, the jazz guys were like this elitist thing, or like not into the metal thing. But now it's like everybody knows what everybody's doing. Butch knows what Devin does. Devin's a fan of Butch's. Clay co-wrote John Mayer's first record, the first John Mayer release, and the Zac Brown Band guys are a lot of metalheads in that band. And it's like such an interesting thing to see musicians at that level who are kind of think about music, even if they're not doing all the same things I do, they all think about music the same way I do. They just want to hear cool shit.
Yeah, and that's so cool. When I know David just did the thing with Post Malone.
Yeah,
David and Tom, and I mean, that's something. I know Post Malone's a metalhead, but to mix those two, he's got a totally different style of what he does. To hear that is super cool. I mean,
to me, it's a dream come true, because I think I've always looked at music that way, and the world seems to be doing it now more. Everybody just seems to care about tunes.
Yeah.
No one's so elitist anymore. Like I remember growing up, there was the metalhead table, and then there was the new head table at, new wave head table at lunch. And, then there was the Maiden fans with the jacket, and you never talked to them about Kiss, because it was a fight. Everyone was so isolated. And now, like when I look at my son or anybody, younger, they're just like AC/DC, Metallica, Rihanna, Lizzo, like they don't care.
Yeah.
Either you're good or you're not. That's the only part of and to me, finally, on my last couple of eras here on the earth, I'm like, finally the world is coming around.
Yeah. And you say that, and my son is 23. He's got a music degree, teaching degree. He's a bass player. I get on Spotify, I get his readout of what he's listening to, and I'm like, what the hell? Where are you going? It's like he's all over the place. And I was like, that is so cool. It wasn't like that growing up for me. And and I know we're about the same age. So yeah, it is a lot different.
So then you're also 32.
Yes,
Oh, that's me.
that's what I tell everybody anyway. Um, I wanted to get into, speaking of vocals, I wanted to get into your vocal sound. It's very signature. When I hear from Saigon Kick to all of your solo stuff to the current record, you have this like layered kind of harmony thing, but it's so perfectly layered right on top that it has, it sounds like a single voice. I've heard very few people do it like you do it. Is there a studio thing that you do with your vocals that you have done from the beginning?
No, it's just fortunately for whatever like when we talk about Jeff, we talk about Todd. To me, those guys are pure amazing singers.
Mhm.
Um, not to downplay what I do, but I think I have a sound. Is the way I look at my voice. I don't think of my like. I wish I could go out there and Steve Perry, or Sam Cooke, or Dio, and just and get that, make that happen. It's just not what I do. But some of my favorite artists also just have a sound. Tom
Mhm.
Waits,
Right,
Perry Farrell. You wouldn't call him a classic great singer, but he's one of my favorite singers.
right.
Just because of what he does. So, and that's just the way I've always heard music. Is just when I write my songs. I mean, I just kind of always have woven these kind of harmonies together with it, and it's developed. And I realize now, how lucky I am, because I think that's a rare thing where people who hear my record goes, there's that Beeler thing, because
Yeah.
I'm never going to get confused with, is that the new Gojira record? Or I wish, those riffs are amazing, but no one confuses me with anything else. So it's either you're kind of into what I do or you hate it, but you're not going to not know who it is. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'm kind of proud of that over the years now.
Totally, totally. And I mean, I depend on that when I hear, there's a Jason Bieler record or song or whatever I hear. I expect to turn that on and hear that. I want to hear. I crave that.
Well,
It's got
awesome.
a. It's just it's you. I mean, and I would say that I've heard it one time. I don't know if you know the Shinedown song, "Bully." Uh,
Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that to me.
really?
And
Okay.
look, I'm sure it's not a conscious effort on their part at all.
Right. Right.
And they're lovely guys. I mean,
And he's an amazing singer.
great, great, great stuff. So, as much as I like to say, yes, I was a major influence on the Shinedown success. I think it's just one of those things where I'm sure some of the things I've done sound very similar to, just, I think we all absorb, there's only so much time and there's a lot of music, but we all pull from these things. So it's inevitable that, Zeppelin, Beatles, Queen, I mean, it's all going to wind up pulling from these same things at some point. So the fact that someone hears a band as great as Shinedown and even remotely goes, that has a little Saigon kick in it, is
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was awesome, and I love Shinedown, and he's an amazing singer. Um, but I heard that vocal, that layered vocal thing where it's not, like a four-part harmony. It's
Right, right,
just slight. Like, the Beach Boys, you couldn't tell there was more than one voice. It was
right.
so right on. That's kind of what you do. And I heard that and I was like, I've that's a Jason Bieler thing.
Awesome, man.
On Stones Will Fly on the new record, you have Butch Walker and Pat Badger. Now,
Uh-huh.
those are I mean, Butch Walker is, Marvelous Three stuff. What a writer that guy is.
Right.
Just an incredible musician all around, I know. Um, and Pat Badger, of course, with Extreme, very similar to, what you did with Saigon Kick, and you guys have known each other for years. Have you ever thought about collaborating with those guys in a band, like a permanent band thing?
Well, Pat and I did a band called Super Transatlantic
Yeah.
that did the American Pie soundtrack and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Strangely enough, that band also did shows with the Marvelous Three.
Oh, okay.
So
I
the
didn't know
world is
that.
kind of very weird in that sense. Yeah, but how fun would it be for me, Pat, and Butch to do a record? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would be sick. I mean, and Butch is amazing, obviously, and Pat's amazing. I don't know if you've heard any of Pat's solo stuff, but
No.
he's lethal. He's the
Really?
most underutilized musician in Extreme. He's so great. I mean, Gary's great. They're all great, but
Yeah.
I think Pat is super talented, great singer, great writer. So the idea of getting with those three guys and put a power tree together would be sick.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, it's like, and I've heard the super transatlantic thing, and I mean, the bass is, it's kind of a funk thing, it's got a
Yeah.
real groove to it. That's it. And with Butch writing and stuff and playing, it's like, wow.
I'm going to email him right when we finish and tell him that's what you have to do.
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool to hear. Um, Now, I checked out your Bandcamp page, and everybody should do that, by the way. There is a ton of stuff I didn't even know you did.
Yeah.
Just a ton of stuff. Uh, it's EPs and stuff like that. Did now I know you have the Baron von Bielski sessions on there. Were there pieces of any of that that made it onto this current record?
Nothing on the new record is at all old. It was all written starting in March and we finished it in May, and it was all of this record of this time. I felt very important that I just do that. All the Bandcamp stuff was, it really just started as a writing experiment. My goal was to write, release, and record a song in about 24 hours from start to finish. I just wanted to write. So over the last 2 years or so, I probably released about 150 songs just in that kind of capacity. I didn't want to get the snare reverb right and spend 2 weeks getting, I just wanted to get better as a writer. And it was kind of, no commercial aspirations whatsoever for it, but it did take on a life of its own, which was just fantastic. And it's funny now because there's a profile on Spotify that has some of that stuff that the people from the Baron von Bielski page are starting to go back and find some of the
Right.
Bandcamp demos and stuff like that. So it's this whole world I'm getting into right now. Is just, I couldn't be more humble. I mean, if you would have told me at this point in my career, I'd be on playlists with Steven Wilson and Devin Townsend on Prog Metal World and having hundreds of thousands of streams on Spotify and listeners and like all this interest within reason, I'd be like, there's no way.
Oh yeah.
There's no way that's going to happen. And so it's super rewarding, and I'm super thankful and grateful. And, I can only imagine the karmic wheel of death will eventually decapitate me shortly. Things are going too well.
It is the apocalypse,
That title was kind of funny, like I said, in March, but it's a little too on the nose right now.
It is really way too on the nose right now. But you hit it, man. We got songs for the apocalypse. It's pretty cool. There's rumor, I've read in forums and stuff like that where Brian Warner, Marilyn Manson, used to come to Saigon Kick rehearsals and stuff.
Yeah,
like
we were all buddies. He wrote the first articles on Saigon Kick for the college paper.
Okay.
The combat boots on the back of our first record were painted by him. So we were all part of that same scene growing up, but that is true.
That's cool. Was there any thought of collaborating? Was he out
No,
there as a musician?
not that he's not talented. I mean, we haven't talked to each other in a couple of few. I haven't seen him probably since 10 years or so. But we've maintained loose touch. Whenever we see each other, it's fine. But we were never,
No, just buddies.
I would do it. I'd be happy to do it.
That would be interesting too.
Never a bad idea to bring the old South Florida gang back together.
Yeah, how about it? That's cool. If you had to pick one song to play for somebody that hadn't heard your music, is there a specific song that you think encapsulates what you do?
No, and that's I'm most proud of.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect answer.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And every time I ask that question, I asked Ian Anderson that question from Jethro Tull, and he told me Stairway to Heaven, which I thought, he's the only guy that picked another band to.
That's usually my stock answer online when anybody asks me stuff like that. Is I usually fire off these weird things that I had nothing to do with, and being a smart ass.
It was a pretty cool answer. Much like yours, is a great answer. Is there a song you're most proud of, though? What's the best song you've ever written?
The last one.
Yeah, that's great.
What I mean? I like to move forward. Not that I don't appreciate that people have these attachments towards the older stuff, but I'm always looking forward. I'm always most excited and most passionate about what can I do next. Now, whether those results please people as much as something from the past, I don't know, but that's where my head's at.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm friends with Michael Sweet, and we've done interviews together, and he makes it vocal about his favorite things, and they're always the current things. And I think to myself, they have to be, don't they? I mean, you wouldn't do them otherwise. You wouldn't put them out if you didn't think you were doing your best.
I hope to be an old man someday and be sitting in a rocking chair at 90s, with any luck, and maybe then I'll take stock. Right now, I'm in the process of building the tracks. You know what I mean? I'm still building the train system. I don't know what the hell I've done. I don't know where I'm going. I assume at some point I'll hit the water and I'll know like there's no longer any need for any more track.
Yeah, but I mean, you're recording, you're doing the best you possibly can at that time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, that's brings perfect sense. I know you got a busy day. I know you've been on the phone all morning. Uh, yeah, and I
No
don't want to
worries.
keep you too long. What is on the top of the bucket list for Jason Bieler? What do you want to
Happiness,
accomplish?
health, love, happiness, health, and love. And hopefully getting to bring this record to the people, hopefully late fall with any luck, the world will come back to some sense of normalcy and we can start bringing these shows out live, doing more shows with Jeff and just being creative. And every day I get to do this is, there's a lot of talented people that are working at Walmart. So I don't get any luckier. It doesn't go past me that I've been a professional musician since 18 years old and haven't had to have a regular job. To me, that's about as lucky as you get. And every day I can wake up and make music is like, what else can you ask for?
Yeah. And it's so great to hear, man. And I was ready to see you guys too. You were gonna play Reggie's in Chicago with
Yeah.
Jeff and the acoustic shows right when this thing happened. And I said, damn, gotta wait
Well,
a little
we're talking
longer.
about doing it again soon. So hopefully, man, everybody just hangs in there and stays safe. We'll get on the other side of it. So
Yeah, man. I can't wait to see you. Yeah, let's keep in touch and
for sure, man. Anytime. Thank you so much for taking the time and obviously to finally, get to talk and show me that pic. And so it's nice to just see the world work sometimes.
man, it's emblazoned in my head. I put my hand out and you stuck it right in there, and I was like,
That's
what
awesome.
a great moment that you created for me. And of course, like I said, the music lives with me every day. It's a powerful thing that you do, and we appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the time and the support, my friend.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll cross paths personally soon.
Yeah, I hope so. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right, bye bye.